What do you say to those who say he was relatively new in Ghana?
He
didn't have much knowledge about possible landing. I mean, in terms of the fact that, well, in fact, he was new.
Yes,
they say that
it was relatively new at Dana, but he was an experienced pilot. You see, the way you assess pilots is not based on the date of their joining a particular airline. It's based on the number of flight hours they have as a captain in general, and as a captain on that particular aircraft type. And this pilot in question, Captain Waston, was experienced in flying MD-83s even before he joined Dana.
And you know that even the best experienced pilots have sometimes been guilty of pilot error?
Oh yes, pilot error is something that happens. I'm not disputing that fact.
Experience sometimes is immaterial.
Yes, even an experienced pilot, as has been proven in many cases in the world where accidents have happened, experienced pilots can make mistakes because they are humans, just like you and I.
Okay, since you say, well, we have to wait for the AIB, but again, leading up to the preliminary report, we understand that the digital recorder or the memory in the FDR got burnt and melted away. But some, they say that that particular device is at the tail of the aircraft. And from what we gathered at the scene of that particular aircraft, the tail wasn't burnt. So how come that that particular FDR was said to have been burnt?
Okay. I would say at this juncture that when things like this happen, you have a lot of pseudo-experts coming to tell you this and that. But the Accident Investigation Bureau is made up of seasoned professionals. And they are not alone in these investigations. Like I said, any accident anywhere in the world is not a problem for that country. It is an international problem. The US NTSB has been a part of this investigation. The FAA, US FAA, has been a part of this investigation. The engine manufacturers, the aircraft manufacturers have been a part of this investigation. So when they come out to tell us that they were able to recover some data from the cockpit voice recorder and the FVR was damaged beyond repair, do you and I have the expertise to say otherwise? Because these are the constituted authority with the know-how, the technical know-how to investigate accidents. I am not an engineer. I am not a pilot. So I can't question what the constituted authorities made up of professionals have said. Now, people will come and tell you it's located at the tail end, it's located at the front end. All that is immaterial because you need only the experts to tell you exactly what happened, and that is what has happened in this case.
Are you saying that that the professionals, the experts, are free of all interference, be it internal, be it external? Is that what you're insinuating?
Yes, the Accident Investigation Bureau is an independent body. Anywhere in the world, it is allowed, it has to be independent. Even the Civil Aviation Authority in that particular country and the Ministry of Aviation cannot interfere with the investigations of the Accident Investigation Bureau. And like I said, in order to ensure that it is thorough, technical assistance is gotten from the US, to ensure that the process of investigation is a thorough one. There are certain analyses that can't be done within the country. And so for this reason, some of this have to be flown to the country where the aircraft is manufactured and where the facilities for analyzing some of these components are. For instance, part of the engine is currently being examined in facilities in the US. The NTSB, the FAA, the AIB are all working together because it is important, to carry out this investigation. And as an airline, we are supporting in every way we can to ensure that we also get to the bottom of this, because it is the interest not only of Nigerians but of air travelers everywhere in the world where airplanes are flying, that we find out what happened in the case of this accident so that we can the relevant authorities can work in conjunction with the airlines to ensure that such a tragedy can never happen again.
Are you reading out in very clear terms any lobbying by your firm on the Ministry of Aviation to actually lift the ban on your company?
No, there is no kind of lobbying. In the first place, the FG was not in the position to ground the operations of the airline.
Would you have gone to court to fight that, since according to you it's against international procedure?
It is against international procedure, and the staff of the airline have written to the authorities to say, hey, this is not the practice. Aviation bodies and experts have been speaking and telling the authorities that you are going against international conventions, you are going against ICAO regulations, which Dana is
so you
a
had
member
protested, if I get you correctly.
Yes.
Your members of staff had protested against the banning of Dana Airline.
Naturally, when you suffer an injustice, as in this case, you would protest.
You would
say it is an injustice because it is not the trend. Like I said, this is a first, both locally and internationally.
Even if the action was taken with the support or owing to the outcry of Nigerians?
Let me state here that the decision to stop our activities wasn't even the airline, in the wake of the accident, in honor of the people who died in that air crash, on its own, if you recall, had voluntarily suspended its operations. Okay, this was already done before the news that the airline's operating certificate had been suspended by the federal government came. Every other airline in the world that suffers this accident just goes on their activities. But we were concerned, and the management of the airline immediately announced the suspension of its operations.
I really want us to see what we can do before you leave the studios, because there's some other issues and concerns. Chamberlain talked about people's comments and concerns, and it has to do with compensation. Before we go, let's just see if we can leave the engines for a while and talk about those people who are still paying. What's up with the compensation to families of those victims?
Or haven't you paid all of them?
Yeah, since the incident, the airline made several steps to ensure that the families were compensated in accordance with the law. Now, we understand that no amount of money can compensate for any of the precious lives lost, but the airline owes this duty to the families. And right from the week of the unfortunate accident, the aircraft had put in place machinery to ensure that this process was settled promptly. We put notices in the papers asking families to come forward with relevant documents to ensure that we assist them in processing their claims. We put announcements in the newspapers, on radio, to ensure that this was done. But naturally, as is the culture here in Nigeria, some people have a certain duration for mourning, which we understand. And so a lot of families did not come forward initially with the documents that were requested for processing the insurance claims, and many of them only started coming after about 30 days of the
how many have you paid, and how many is left?
Yeah, we have started the process of compensation for all the families who have completed the legal verification of their document, which is a very, very important step. 62 of them have received compensation. We've had some delays also because of multiple claims. You have a situation where in one family, 2-3 people are turning up with documents claiming that they are the next of kin. Now, in order to ensure that we do not increase the suffering of these families by handing the compensation to the wrong person, we have to go through a process of verifying
what about the ground victims. Are you doing anything about the ground victims?
Yes, what we did initially in the wake of the accident was to first of all provide relief materials, and after a series of meetings with the affected person and in conjunction with the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency, LASEMA, we had tried to provide accommodation as a temporary relief measure for the severely affected families. There were 9 of the 9 families according to the LASEMA classification, and after several meetings with them, the airline made available monies to get themselves some accommodation. Now, the actual compensation takes a while because the insurers would have to value the extent of the losses, would have to treat each of these claims as individual claims, and that process is ongoing. I can't say because it is an issue for the insurers and solicitors, but I can tell you that they are leaving no stone unturned to ensure that this process is settled as soon as possible, because the airline is concerned. It is our moral and legal obligation to the families and to all the victims to ensure that this is done, and we're doing everything we can. Our insurers are doing everything they can to ensure that this process is settled speedily.